This is Robert Clotworthy, the narrator of The Curse of Oak Island. And I have a question for you. Could it be that you are listening to The Curse of Oak Island and Beyond live stream?
This is a top pocket find, mate, for sure.
Hey everyone, welcome to The Curse of Oak Island and Beyond, a live stream. I am your host, Jeff Freeman, and here we got our co-host, John Edwards here, Colin Jamieson, and Dale Kearney. Guys, welcome and thanks for being here.
Hello.
So I tell you, this getting into the all the digging with the caissons in the Money Pit area is getting pretty exciting. I mean, not quite. I mean, I was really hoping we'd pull up something really super significant out of the first one. Looks like, well, at least it looks like I'm right so far that there was more than one. I said two caissons. I don't know who all said one.
All right, Jeff, you got your point. You're winning the contest so far. I understand.
Well, and I know that when you were there, and I granted, we'll get to this as we go along, but I know when Colin, when you were taking your pictures from the beach, from the boat, as you were going around Oak Island last year, and it looked to you like there was only one. And, I got to hand it to you, though, from the angle of now where they're going to put the second one in. And as I said, we'll get to that later, a little later. From your perspective on the beach, exactly, it would have looked like the same one. So, but yeah, at least we know there's two so far, right? So how many more? Well, we don't know yet, do we? But anyway, thanks guys for being here tonight as we recap episode 16, Gold Diggers, on the show. So I wanted to give a few shout outs for people logging in already. It's funny because, I get the server fired up and get everything ready to go. And it goes out to YouTube right away and says starting soon or coming soon or start whatever. And then people start logging in right off the bat, and they start, chatting away, and we see the chat. I mean, it shows up in here, even though we're not live yet, but I appreciate you folks, coming in early like that. Looks like we got, Dave Petrella out there. Hi, Dave. Janet's with us. And of course, Jan and Linda and Tom Burns out there working very hard in the chats, watching the different chats. We're basically just looking for the yankers out there that send us bad stuff or whatever on YouTube.
They're the bouncers of the chat.
Yes, they are the bouncers. Yes, they are. Yes, they are for sure. And we appreciate their hard work. I tell you, honestly, like I said before, if it wasn't for Linda and Jan and Tom Burns and the work that they do, there wouldn't be a show. There would not be a live stream because they do so much to make this thing happen. You folks really have no idea how much work that they put into this, and they're paid well. Okay, they're not paid well, but anyway, they do it because they enjoy it, and they enjoy being part of the group and all of that, and doing all the work that they do for that. But I tell you, they are very much appreciated, all the work they do. So, Court Lindahl, what's up, crew? What's up, Court? What's going on out there? Who else we got? Let's see. Janet, I said, and Anne Marie from Germany is watching. Karen is there. Catherine is there. Catherine from Wisconsin. All right. Sharon's there. Oh my gosh, Elizabeth. There's a lot of people here already. Kat Fulton.
I always say, if you can put up in the chat where you're from, I love the fact that you see people from Germany and Australia and from all over the world that watch this. So,
yep. Yeah, we really do. And I will say again, too, if you have not done the little thing where you tell StreamYard that they can use your name, if you're on the Facebook side and you make a comment, just put your name out there first, if you would, just so we know who to acknowledge. I like to be able to acknowledge who is putting up the chat. And if it's a Facebook user like this, we don't know who you are. And I have to look over and try to find you in the Facebook chat so I can add a name to that. And this would, oh my goodness, there's been so much chat going by already. I've already
crazy.
I'm already 35 deep or more.
Sharon.
Sharon, thank you. Yeah, that's Sharon. So if you want to just put your name on there real quick so we know who you are, we just like to acknowledge you. That's all. And it's not a big deal. If you don't want to, that's fine too. You don't have to. It's not a huge deal. Mary Molesky, good to have the bouncers. Yes, it is. Yes, for sure. Indy's Antics is here. Let's see. Amy's here. Hi, Amy. Kate's here with us. Hi, Kate. How you doing tonight? I thought that they have used all 4 big cans. There was more than 4 out there. The Awoken one is here. Hi. Let's see. Darlene is here. Hi, Darlene. Paula Mason is here. Hello, Paula. And I know Paula Steen is here also. I saw her earlier. She was one of the early ones here tonight. And appreciate you. Barbara Duncan. Wanda's here. Oh, my goodness. $Sand Ray. How you doing? Hey, and I wanted to say, $Sand Ray, thank you so much for what you do. I appreciate it. We, as I was talking about before, this show, if you want to help support the show, we have our Patreon channel out there. And it is Patreon it's got the EON spelled on it, patreon.com. And my thing out there is just JFree906, just like you see up in the corner there, JFree906, if you want to help support the show. And I tell you what, we have 7 people that are patrons right now, and I thank you so very, very much. It helps to pay for all of this, and I really, really appreciate you more than I can say. I really do. So like that, let's see. Bass Anderson's here. All right. Man, we got so much chat going by already. Roberta's here. Let's see. Teeny Sterling, Linda from Teeny Sterling, Kansas. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's like the little town that I'm from up in northern Michigan. It's so small. I mean, it's not you blink and you missed it, but pretty close. Yeah. But let's see. Oregon. Who's that? Gail from Oregon. Hi, Gail from Oregon. How you doing? Let's see. Promise to behave myself. Tara says, "Oh, please don't." Okay. Who's behaving themselves? Oh, Court Lindahl. Yeah. Oh, we won't go there tonight. Court's a good friend of the show. We appreciate Court very much. Great researcher and working with John on some fantastic stuff that that. And I wanted to mention that too real quick before we get started here, that we had that teaser trailer that we put out, or that I should say I didn't put it out. Court and John Edwards working on that together about the relic hunters, basically looking for the relics of the like the Holy Grail and the what's it actually called? I'm sorry, John.
It's called the Armor Christi.
Armor Christi. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. And I was asked to do the voiceover for it, and so we've got that out. It's on Court Lindahl's YouTube channel. You can watch it there. Just look for Court Lindahl on YouTube, and you'll find it. You can watch it there. He's got a lot of videos out there. All of his research and stuff's out there. Really good stuff. And if you want to watch that trailer, and this is a documentary they're working on together, and that'll be coming out in the future here. At some point, they'll get that done. And again, like I said, I've been honored to be asked to do the voiceover. And I really cool that I really like to be able to do that. So, let us know. Watch it and let us know what you thought of it. We linked it also in our Facebook group page as well. Jack Campbell. Jack's out there from Ohio, almost Michigan, pretty close to Michigan. I know I got to stop by and see Jack not the last time, but second to last time I went up to Michigan. I stopped by to see him, and that was going to get to meet him. So that was really cool. So we appreciate Jack will be back on the show too. We'll get him back in here with us as we go along. I did want to say real quick, a little more housekeeping before we get jumping into things. As last night we had the Beyond Oak Island show was on after Oak Island, the Curse of Oak Island, and that was Pancho Villa's Plunder. And that was a pretty good one. Tomorrow night, here at 7:30 Eastern time, tomorrow night, Tom Burns and I will be we're gonna be talking about that particular show, Pancho Villa's Plunder, and we are gonna have you guys check this out. I mean, this is so cool on the Beyond side when we got our great co-host here tonight. But we get some of the folks that have been on these shows joining us. As you know, on some of the previous Thursday nights. Cindy Medina is going to be here with us. She was on the show with Maddie Blake and Marty Lagina out there. Cindy Medina is going to be with us tomorrow night. Gypsy Jules are going to be with us tomorrow night. And I think we got a couple of, at least one gentleman, maybe two from, I'm already blowing it. The scanning, the guys that were there doing the scanning, they brought the scanning equipment. I'm at a complete loss for names all of a sudden. But we're going to have a full house of special guests with us tomorrow night for that with Tom and I. And we're going to be talking about the episode and going through it. So 7:30 tomorrow night, right here on this YouTube channel. And it also will be on our Facebook group page as well. CSTI. Thank you, Tom. The guys from CSTI are going to be here with us. So we're going to have 4 people. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you guys want to be here for that, that's going to be a lot of fun to go through that show. Okay, so John Gallegos. John Gallegos. I'm hoping I'm saying that right. Linda's doing her best to try to spell it out phonetically for me. I probably still blew it. But John's going to be here with us tomorrow night too. So that'll be a lot of fun. So you'll want to check in with us for that show tomorrow night, 7:30 Eastern, right here on this same YouTube channel. So, mouthful of stuff. And then, of course, we got Terry DeVoe coming up next Saturday. Alessandra is going to be with me on that one, and Tom Burns. And then Carmen Leggs coming back later in the month. Yeah, we're going to have a lot of fun with these shows coming up. So you guys check in for those and just keep posted, watching our Facebook group page for that kind of stuff. And I'll be doing another promo to talk about it as we go along. All right. So Curse of Oak Island, season 9, episode 16, Gold Diggers. And again, putting in that first can in the ground, they did find some pretty significant stuff. Did they pull out, gold, all of that? No, they didn't. And here's Miss Kitty is over here. I know she's going to try to jump on the desk. Contained down here, so she doesn't do that. She did during the show with Luca Santoni, who was on the show with us on Saturday. That was a really good one with Gretchen Cornwall and I. And there she was, boom, right up here on the table. She jumped right up here. She surprised me.
See, now you got to bring her on to show her everybody.
Well, she'll probably jump up here at some point. Yeah, I wish I can't lock the door because then she gets all really upset. So I can't lock her out of the room. All right. So let's bring up the first of, as you know, my many pictures. There we go. Wide shot of this is an older one. You can tell. Well, it seems like it's older because you got the look down here. What do you see right down there? Excavator in the swamp. We know that's
end of August picture right there.
Yeah, it has to be. And and there's the caissons over here all lined up, but there's no oscillator there yet, I don't believe. So that's kind of a early picture, but still kind of cool. This is what Frog Island back here, right?
Yep.
Which is one that was on Xena's map, which has got some interesting things John and I have been talking about for that, but we won't talk about those just yet. But I got a feeling there's something significant about that island. All right. So the guys start off in the money pit on this particular show. And they are continuing to work on the TF1, the Fellowship 1 caisson, or hole, they're calling it that, giving it that number. Right off the bat, Vanessa comes over, and she is telling Vanessa Lucido is coming over, and she is telling the group that they are at the can is at 104, and then the digging that they're doing inside the can is down to 92 feet. In the 10-foot can. Now, if you remember, the TF1 is the one particular can where they found, or the area that's in D, it was D2, right? I'm pretty sure it was D2 that they went down into, D2 being the small 7 inch. I think it's like a 7-inch drill when they do the regular drilling. And D2, so that's where they went in and they, cats cry nonstop. Yes, they do. Cats are in charge. But that's the one where I was saying last week, or not last week, but the week before last, I was saying that this is the one where they found the the gold on the metal. I was wrong. This is not that hole. This is the hole where they found wood that dated back in the 15th century. So they They found evidence. Let's see on the synopsis again. The synopsis that James on for us. They found evidence of what appeared to be a tunnel at the depth of 90 feet, dated to as early as the 15th century. So what they think is a wood tunnel.
But how deep this particular one, this episode, they went down to 100 and what? How many feet did they go down this one?
About 150, I think.
I think they said 150.
Yeah. They could go to 160 unless they hit bedrock. So I think they made it to 150 or so.
And for pulling a flashback, remember a number of seasons ago when they found the actual bone fragments? Was that not at like 160? I thought that was like 165 feet. Like that was a really super deep hole. Now, I know it's kind of relative depending on where in the island they're digging. But I mean, they clearly found that there was activity at an even deeper depth than what they're aiming for now. I can't remember where that was. Was that in the money pit area as well?
Yeah.
I'm assuming.
Yeah, well, it was definitely in the money pit, and I think that they. Does anybody remember? If anybody remembers what, and I don't off the top of my head, I don't remember. Was it H8 that they found it in, and how deep that? Yeah, Dave says it was H8. Thank you, Dave. Does anybody remember how deep it was? Hugh says, I think you're right. Let's see. Oh, I was going to bring that up, but I can't. It's over on Facebook, but it hasn't shown up on YouTube. Oh, here it is. This is Hugh. Hugh said, I think you're right, Colin. The bone fragments were at a lower depth.
Yeah, because it really seemed to go with the whole time period. And again, what was it? It was Eastern European and Middle Eastern descent.
Yes. Yep.
That the people of that vintage were at, basically below depth of what the money pays thought to be.
Sorry, I gotta hang up. Oh, that was actually Cindy. That was actually Cindy Medina, who's going to be on tomorrow night. We were going to do a little test. Sorry about that. She was. I told her let's try to test it, but it was. She didn't realize that we had a show on tonight, so I'll have to get back with her. Jan, if you could send her a text real quick and just let her know, we'll have to wait till after the show. I would appreciate you very much. Thank you. Because she's still trying to call.
Jeff, it was 160 feet underground, and it's H8. 160 feet down.
So I know that the guys have got to be compensating for the extra dirt that they've put on to build the money pit area up nice and flat and stable, right?
Yeah.
So if they're at 100, if they stopped at about 150.
Yeah. Well, you got to remember, like a lot of the area, in the Maritimes is all glacially formed. So I think someone had mentioned about, I'm surprised you hit bedrock at 150 feet. Not really. I mean, when you go along the shores, a lot of the stuff, it is exposed bedrock in a lot of areas. So there isn't, a tremendous amount of, depth to dig down. Mind you, 150 feet in the ground on an island in Nova Scotia is incredible. Still.
Yeah, and again, they found those bone fragments under 160 feet, and like I said, they have to be compensating for the depth or the added dirt on there, because they
seem to start running out of stuff at around between that. The prime time seems to be like 65 to 85 feet. I think what did they do? They went to like 107 feet, and then we're really kind of running into trouble.
Do we know how thick? I mean, when you talk bedrock, and again, I'm not a geologist. I'm not up on these things. When you talk about is it a layer of bedrock?
I think it'd be a layer.
And then underneath it, there would be dirt again. I mean, it seems to me when you're tunneling, you'd want to be under that, but I don't know. I mean,
no, they're not going to go. The bedrock itself, I'm not a geologist either, but my understanding would be, it would be, very, very thick, dense rock.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be tunneling. You wouldn't be breaking down through the bedrock.
Right. Let's see, Johnson. The discovery of the bones, along with the other interesting artifacts, including fragments of pottery and a piece of what believed to be bookbinding, have led the team to believe that H8 lies above the location of the original money pit. Now, if that's H8, and we'll look at the map. There's I got the little the map showing. We can kind of look at here in just a little bit. say most of the land in Nova Scotia is bedrock as a result of erosion and transportation of unconsolidated material. Landforms such as beaches, marshes are being formed. These deposits are also being eroded and or flooded by rising sea levels. So that's John's digging that information up as we go. Thank you, John. Appreciate that.
No problem.
So I mean, again, so they were deeper when.
But then Gail mentions in there about, and I believe what she says about about there being an offset chamber to be above
Sea level
or water line to keep above. But
yeah. Oh, sorry, this is covering your face up. Sorry about that. I believe that the treasures are just down, but tunnels to the side. Yeah, it could be. Yeah, we're getting a lot of good chat. I'm going to bring this up here so we're not covering you up. Let's see. Who is this? This is Hugh again. There were water-filled caverns down there. I thought that they were above the 150-foot level. Yeah, I think
you've seen them when they're pulling stuff out of the big Caisson. I mean, it's a lot of. I mean, you're going to gather water anyway. It seems if you're digging a well. I live 5 minutes away from Oak Island. I have a dug well that's, I don't know, 6 or 7 feet deep, and I've got solid water in it, right? So you're going to collect water at depth, regardless. Right. It's just the difference: is it fresh water of groundwater, or is it seawater coming again from the flood tunnels at depth below sea level?
And most of that area is all surrounded by water anyway.
Yeah, and that's a good one there too about the bedrock east side and the glacier of clay and hydrate. Because we were talking earlier, which we'll probably talk about later, about the potential in the concrete, because that was being pulled up, and the guys were talking in this episode as well. And then what would the concrete be used for? The clay, the anhydrite. Would they be using that stuff for reinforcing tunnels, trying to stop water intrusion from coming into it? Was there an actual chapel, the vault, or was it all just a mining operation?
I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, that's interesting. And somebody else said that they here, somebody was talking about it being an uneven. That was Kate. Kate mentioned uneven bedrock.
That's true.
Is that possible as well? Yes, I would think so. Anyway, I would think it's very possible for it to be uneven. And again, that's part of the thing that kind of gets me. You talked about Roosevelt, when they call it the Roosevelt shaft now, I guess the old gold treasure. Oh wait, I'm sorry. The old gold salvage and wrecking company excavated down to 107 feet. FDR team cleared the pit to 107 feet. And of course, remember that it's going to be a little bit lower or deeper because of the fact that they've added so much dirt, like 10, 15 feet of dirt on top of what the money pit area originally was, down to 170 feet. And this is what I found very curious, is that they found a platform across the bottom of the cribbing that they could not remove. I thought that was really curious because, first of all, they're bringing up a ton of material, and I'll show this picture again just real quick here. This one here.
Wow.
But John, you spoke about this in the past. I mean, the Templars and their mining, I say mining, tunneling operations, mining operations, were done at
10-foot increments.
10-foot intervals, making a platform in, keep stability and so forth. So.
Yeah, mining just in general during that period was done at 10-foot increments with the offshoots. So, that was very typical, and you would reinforce it, and then you would have your offshoots. And it very well could be an ancient mining operation, which would be gold or silver. That's always a possibility.
Yeah, the amount of wood that they've brought up out of here, and as you've seen in that one picture that I just had up, this one here, and look at those rocks. I mean, those are huge, huge rocks and boulders that they brought up out of here. Somebody, we saw somebody was talking about the fact that all these rocks were the thing that they couldn't bring up or couldn't move. When they were showing, and I got to hand it to Prometheus to build the intensity for the show, the suspense. They were showing where the hammer grab's going down there and boom, shaking something. That didn't happen, of course. I think they created that, but whatever. But they were talking about something they couldn't move, and somebody was saying, "Oh, it was these rocks that they couldn't." Obviously, they could, because there they are, land. They got them out of there. It wasn't that they were talking about. That was not the immovable object, obviously. But look at the amount of material. They did say in that old 1909, the Roosevelt, the old gold salvage and wrecking company excavated what they thought to be the original treasure pit to a depth of approximately 100 feet before cave-ins and flooding halted their work. But they did mention in there about them bringing up a lot of rock and wood that they thought was part of the original money pit. Now all this rock and all this wood that's coming up, was that Roosevelt shaft? Do you think is that the Roosevelt shaft they're pulling up, or is it?
Isn't that where they found the boat?
I'm sorry, what that?
Isn't that where they found the boat?
Yes. Yep.
But I think that rock is going to be normal in there anyway, and I'm sure they would have used some of those manageable size stones. Again, reinforcing as they're building, putting cribbing and so forth in place underground. They're not using the big ones because you couldn't manage or deal with them. But I think some of the smaller ones. I mean, all the seawall, you see the seawall around the island and so forth. What is all that? It's all granite rock.
Well, that went down Mahone Bay way anyway. There's a lot of big rock.
Oh, I guess.
Yeah.
If they were using some of the concrete for reinforcing, would they find some of the concrete residue on this? I mean, it's covered in mud and everything else. You can't really tell, but would they find it on some of this wood? And some of these pieces, like this one that Jack is out ready to grab right here. Whoops, here I'm pointing at the map. The thing you can't even see it. This piece right here, Jack's getting ready to grab. I mean, look at the size of that piece. That's from one log, which I'm assuming it is. Obviously, it's all one piece. That's a big tree. Is that oak? I mean, you guys have pines that get that big around up there? Maybe, huh? Look at the size of that thing.
Yeah, those are some big timbers.
But
I mean, they'd be using. I think John, we were talking earlier about concrete / mason material. That's been used since the beginning of time, right?
Yeah, 1300 BC.
Yeah, so I don't think it's out of the realm that, and I think it's not like today's technology concrete. But the old stuff, you probably get some level of degradation or disintegrating and coming apart, not really adhering to the wood and so forth. But they're certainly pulling up pieces of that material. And I guess the question was that used to actually entomb a chamber to waterproof it, or was it used in the tunneling structures to keep, because again, water and so forth would be coming in. Even if you dug a hole 30 feet in the ground, you're going to get moisture and water. It's raining outside. The operations way back then, I mean, you see how long it takes them to do it with today's technology.
Sure.
You imagine doing it a couple 100 years ago, digging it by hand. This was not done in the summer.
No.
This would have been returning seasonal, operation after, a number of years to do the original structure, right?
Yep.
So even when you're leaving it, it's raining, it's snowing, it's everything else above. I mean, how do you keep it from filling up with water? Again, they wouldn't have had gas or diesel generator water pumps and stuff, right?
Nope.
So I mean, how did they proof it? Were they seal these things off with some type of mason or concrete material in between, or just food for thought?
Yeah, blue clay.
Yeah, lots of the clay material and so forth. Yeah.
Well, the other thing you have to take into account is sea levels were 10 feet lower, so you wouldn't have the same flooding potential. I mean, it would go up, but it wouldn't go. You're talking 10 feet lower. And secondly, with the amount of timber they've pulled up, it's a pretty extensive structure down there, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know, and you have search tunnels and everything, but they've pulled up so much timber over the years. I mean, it's just not money pit. It's offshoots. It's maybe even the chapel vault. There's just other things going on underneath them, and you just don't know.
Yep.
You know, it has to be. I mean, with the amount of timber they've pulled up.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you get around that? You don't.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, and that's the thing is that, you know, and when they date the wood, now they can get a better idea of just when it was it searcher tunnels or was it original depositors. And you know, with this pile of wood that they, you know, that I was just showing, you know, they've got to date some of that, especially the stuff that looks to them like it's been hand hewn. They've got to get it dated, I think, you know, so they can find out.
Mhm.
But again, there's that process. It takes so long if they to do the dendrochronology on it to find out just how old it is. And that would help them decide if they're in the right area or not.
Yeah,
But then
good, bad,
again,
or otherwise, I'm sure we'll eat up at least 1 or 2 episodes coming up. We'll talk about how old is the wood that we brought out of the hole. So
yeah, it probably will. We know, yeah, unfortunately. So yeah, we still want that gold coin to come up, don't we? Yeah, that's what Houston, Texas Dave said. Just find one gold coin. Yeah, I know. That's what I keep saying the same thing, Dave. Oh, for sure. But yeah, this is the one where they found the boot. They did pull that boot up, and I grabbed a picture of it here. So there's the boot that they brought up, and again, that was interesting. It was really cool for I think it was Doug to be able to Doug Crowell to be able to find out that the boot, you know, looking at the name, they found the name and found out that's a 1908 or 1909 boot. Look at the condition; it's in pretty good shape
Wow.
for being that old.
it's Canadian. That's Canadian quality right there, boys.
Yeah,
There
I'm
you go.
telling you, man. I'm telling you, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
Interesting find was this paper. You know, this was cool. And again, Doug's, you know, digging into the archives and was able to find this out. And it says right here, by use of the bucket, we cleared out the pit to a depth of 107 feet, taking out large quantities of boulders and timber. That's where I saw that. You know, boulder, just like you saw in that picture I just showed. Look at all the boulders and timber they brought out of there. Now, you know, yes, you guys grow the boulders up there in Nova Scotia, I've been told. So, but would they be all that deep? I mean, I suppose they would, right? They could be very deep or shallow, anything in between, right?
Yeah.
At this depth, we found a very heavy platform across the bottom of the cribbing. The bottom of the cribbing, which we were unable to take up. As it was now, and then I guess you can't see the rest of that. But it's kind of neat to read some of this. You know, I was reading some of the other. I grabbed a picture of the top of the page right here. Harris and Vaughn Real Estate. This was October 17th, 1900, and it looks like an 8 there. I can't tell if that's an 8 or a 9.
Well,
Yeah.
that previous picture you showed with that large timber, because again, today you're using some fairly high-tech, big, heavy equipment. I mean, even the guys back in 1908, you've seen the pictures of what they were using. They certainly had a little grab, but I mean, they would not have been able to grab. I don't think so, based on, you know, a lot of the photos and articles and stuff that I've read on it.
No.
If they ran into that, you know, crosswise, and then say that is, you know, that's Jack. Jack's not a very tall man, but
Yeah.
you know, that's probably what, 4 foot wide
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
at least.
At least 5, maybe, when you go all the way to the end. You're talking from the one tip to the other tip?
Yeah. So if
Oh,
that
yeah,
was,
5 feet.
let's say that would be like the structure at the on the bottom of it. You know,
Yeah,
it would,
yeah.
you know, you simply wouldn't be able to get that up.
And so they may have pulled up what they could not hear.
They
Possible.
certainly went deeper than what FDR's hole went, because I mean, that's when they went down, they pulled, they got the boot, and the boot was pulled out at 60,
Yeah,
less than
about
70 feet or
60,
around
70 feet. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, they kept going and finding more and more material, and then, you know, of course, they start to run out. So
Right.
they certainly went deeper than what FDR did. It seems to be anyway. Or you say, oh, so Tom says FDR went 171 feet down.
Wow.
The total. Yeah.
Well,
And what I found really cool was this right here, Franklin Roosevelt. He 54 Wall Street in New York. Dear Franklin, yeah, I just thought that was pretty cool to be able to see some of this. When I arrival on the island, August 27th, we found, conditions different from what we had. It was just kind of neat to. I like these old documents like this. Really kind of cool to check that out. But yeah, so, and I grabbed a picture. Here's some more of that wood. Look at all the timber they brought up out of that hole that we didn't actually, we didn't witness them yanking all this stuff out, and some of it, obviously. And they pushed all this wood, threw it all over here to the side. And I would think that this is a mixture of, what Roosevelt's team did, and also what they may have been pulling up off the bottom, which might have been part of the collapse, or would it be part of the collapse of the money pit? I don't know. Original money pit. That's what they speculated about. There's that piece of dowel that Gary found when he was metal detecting the spoils. He found that piece of dowel, and that would be like a dowel pin to hold the wood, pieces of wood together at a corner or something like that, or a post or something.
Yeah.
And then he found another little piece of fastener there. I thought I had, hang on just a second, because I thought I had a picture. And because Colin, you were just talking about the, here it is. Of there, I grabbed this picture. This was of the team right here doing their thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a little hammer grab.
That's a little hammer grab. And not only that, but now, I was thinking, if that hammer grab was, hydraulically controlled, they would be able to really squeeze and clamp onto something rather than just using its weight and then the cable that goes up and closes it, right? That's the way this thing works. Similar to the way this one works. But that one is only, 3 feet across.
Yeah.
And they're using I don't know. What do you think? Is that 4 feet? Maybe it's a little wider than that.
Do you know what I'm wondering? The wood they got there, the dude they're standing on, I wonder if that's some of the stuff they're bringing up.
That's exactly one of the reasons why I took this picture.
Yeah.
Or grabbed
it. Looks like it might be some of that platform that collapsed or something like that at one time.
Yeah, because they wouldn't have taken all that stuff out with them. I
No,
think
they
they're
just
just
left it there.
operation now, and they just would have were leaving.
Left it there and covered it over.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
But there's lots of timbers there too.
There's a lot of timber here, and much of this may have been what the guys are pulling up now.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
Remember,
that's one of the reasons why I grabbed it. Yep.
That's 115 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. But I just thought it was kind of cool. Like I said, if that hammer grab actually was able to squeeze harder, the one that they're using nowadays, obviously it was run like this one here, so they're not able to really squeeze on anything. And then they were talking about, they were not able to grab a hold of whatever's down there.
Yeah.
They had trouble with the rock with the hole drilled in it, but there were so many boulders that they were pulling up. From that pile you saw, that was very evident there that it was, I just, they were talking about the fact that, that they, FDR's team went down 107. They were unable to pull up, something that was down there. They were unable to, they couldn't remove it. Then in 1861, the money pit collapsed. They actually drilled down. But now these guys are running into bedrock, but they're also finding something that they can't close on, or they can't get through. And they're calling it bedrock, but I don't know. I mean, I have to wonder to myself, are they running into the same obstruction that these guys ran into? Is it really truly bedrock? I mean, how can we know I guess, and again, this is one of those things when you're not there on the island, you're not there at the show, you just don't know all the facts and figures.
I think the guys from Rock Equipment, I mean, she said it in the show, this is what these guys do. And I think they've got enough experience that I think if the operator said, we've hit the end, we've hit the end. It's not, I don't think there's a lot of guessing involved with the equipment, and they would measure it by, because you watch when they're doing it, and I think in previous seasons, they kind of went in depth on how much pressure was being generated.
Yes.
And they could tell what kind of material they were cutting through. It depends on the pressures and speed and all this kind of stuff. So those guys would know.
Yeah. Very good point.
I
They're
think a little bit of
experts at this.
showmanship for the TV show to kind of like, could it be? Is this? Yes, we hit
Yeah.
Bedrock. Yes, we didn't find what we want in this one. Let's put another one down.
Right. Yeah. And that's what I noticed Robert, Clotworthy, doing the narration for the show. And then that piece of dowel that Gary found when of course, Gary goes, "Oh, what's this?" And he reaches down, "Ooh," and they go to commercial, right? And when they come back, he's like, before he reaches down to pick it up again, you hear Robert going, possibly could find something very interesting, possibly lead to the discovery of the money pit, or whatever, how he leads into it. And yeah, it's a wooden dowel that was used to hold timbers together, but it's just kind of funny how they do that. And again, they, I understand what they're trying to do, and that's they're trying to keep the ratings up for the show and all that. So not a big, so, but anyway, back to that dowel. Let's see, off the wall question. Has anyone ever researched earthquakes in the area? Could that sure shift things around? Does you guys get many earthquakes up there?
Not really.
No.
Yeah. Nothing. Good thought, though. I mean, you would think that would certainly collapse a tunnel. I would think so. So there's that dowel again, that piece of dowel that they found. And then
how long was FDR's operation back in 1908? Was it 2 or 3 years?
I think it was, yeah. I'm not sure exactly. My understanding was 2, but it might have been like, 2.5 seasons or something like that.
That's
anybody know for sure?
That it is. It does. Yeah, does anybody out there know? Because it'd be interesting. Because like you say, some of the old technology, and they were able to put 171 feet in the ground, even if it was 2 years. I mean, there's Tom says it's 2 years. I mean, that's pretty damn impressive, really.
Yeah, a lot of work to go down to 2 years. They had but they had the financial resources to bring at least the best equipment probably they had at the time out there.
Yeah.
For doing it, and again, remembering that they had to bring it over by boat and bits and pieces and bring everything over by boat because they had no causeway back then. Yeah. This picture here is kind of cool. They find that piece of this was the little piece of metal that turns out to be some sort of a iron fastener that Gary found, and I just thought, look at all the guys. Everybody's gathered around the money pit quite a bit. They want to see what's I mean, I would be. This is where the most interesting activity is happening on the island at the time. So you're definitely going to want to dig into. See, I just thought, here's all the guys. Pretty much everybody's there at the moment to see what he found. And this was a close up of it, and some sort of a fastener of some sort. Again, another piece of metal. Do we know what it is for sure? No. Do we know how old it is? No, not really. It's been down there a long time, though, for sure. And again, there's that picture. And again, just talking about that wood, that's just all that wood, they're not going to pull all that out. So it had to be left in the hole, and some of it may collapse, and they may be pulling a lot of that back out now. And I think that's what they were kind of thinking, that they were following Roosevelt's shaft down.
It's almost like it's the exact same spot.
Well, it is if his boot was in there. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Very good point. And this was, I grabbed this picture just because of what he said there. That it's slipping off something it doesn't want to bite. That particular hammer grab, and that's the one with the, it doesn't have quite the biggest of a maw on it, I don't think, as the other one that they sent down. The other one is a little bit less heavy, but I think the other one had a bigger opening that they could pick up something larger. Let's see here. So Vanessa wants to. She tells Rick that the vault, let's see. Sorry about that. When Vanessa asks, what should they be watching for, Rick tells her the vault should be near 150-foot range. Vanessa says they will continue to 160 feet unless they're stopped by Bedrock. And then sure enough, they did. That's when the crane operator, Michelle Olette, the crane operator states the hammer grab is slipping off something it doesn't want to bite. And then Vanessa says that they might be hitting a massive object or hitting bedrock. And again, they're assuming that that's exactly what they're doing, is hitting bedrock at that point. And it's an all stop. And this is where they grab the other one that has the wider, being able to pick up something bigger, and they send it on down. And sure enough, it's bedrock. I would assume that they let it, drop a few times to see if they could break into whatever it was. I mean, if they were on the chapel vault and it was encased in concrete, would it not present, if they were hitting it square on, or even on the edge of it, would it not present the same type of a stopping point? I don't know.
I don't know, man. I bet you that thing would weigh a lot. And that's why it is just to actually break through in whatever material. So they would drop that down. I don't think any level of old school concrete or timbers were going to stop that.
Yeah, got to be, as much as that thing weighs.
Do you know if that free falls down, or is it lowered slowly and then pounded?
I think it's lowered, but I think though, she said before, like they would go and they would pick it and drop it so many feet, because that's where all the teeth kept getting busted off it, because as they're going down, they're digging in, breaking up rocks and pulling that stuff out. So
yeah, when they run into, so they lower it down slowly until they get to the point like Colin just said, and then hit the bottom and then bring it up and then drop and then drop and then drop, and see if they can hammer through, i.e. hammer grab.
I was just going to say, hence the hammer grab name.
Yeah.
I didn't know if they just let it drop free fall or what. Interesting.
Yeah. Sure. Is the level of bedrock, is it always consistent in that same area?
Yeah, I think someone said, I think you get a lot of inconsistencies.
Yeah,
that could grade off, one way or the other. I don't think you'd go across the island be in the same depth, which is interesting to point. If they said FDR went down to 171 feet, they found in another hole, they found it was around 165 feet. I mean, I'd say within 10 or 15 feet of margin is pretty.
Okay. I'm just looking at the money pit area per se. If it's pretty consistent, the question is there anything underneath the bedrock? Did they ever tunnel or go?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was wondering earlier. Yeah.
Or is everything located above the bedrock?
I'd say everything's above. Like,
I don't think they could have got through the bedrock.
That's what I mean. Unless you're down there dynamite and everything else.
Yeah.
So it has to be above the bedrock. Okay.
Yep.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that's what Jan put up this one here, saying that Rick felt that they would they'd get pieces of concrete and wood if it was on the vault. They could definitely break through it with that thing. So yeah, bedrock. Unfortunately, as much as I wanted to say that they're stopping too soon, they had to. I don't think. Like you guys said,
I don't think they had a choice.
Yeah, they're not going to break through the bedrock
with
a hammer grab.
My question, John, is, for the dimensions of the Ark of the Covenant, would the hammer grab just perfectly pick that up and pick it out, or how would that work?
You got to be straight on, though. I mean, that caisson has to be perfectly centered to be able.
If it was the Holy Grail, it would just, you could pick that up, that up, no problem.
No, right? You would pull that up, no problem. It would just is it 2 cubits wide by 4 cubits long? So is a cubit what's a cubit in feet? Would it fit up the 10-foot caisson? Would they be able to grab a hold of the Mark of the Covenant?
John knows the answer to this. I can tell.
No, they would not. They would end up pulling a piece of the lid off.
Oh, you don't want to pull the lid off.
You've seen how that worked out in the Indiana Jones, right?
Yeah, it did not work out well.
It didn't work out too well.
The Germans in Indiana Jones, it did not work out well for them. So you don't want to take the lid off, and you don't want to cut it in half. With the hammer grab. And I remember Vanessa saying that when we had her on, had her on as a guest at one show, and she said, I don't want to be the one that rips it in half. It's a 16 ton. This one's a 16-ton hammer grab. So 16-ton dropping on the.
I love watching Amy's comments. I think Amy's she's like an encyclopedia. 1 cubit is 1.5 feet.
That's
okay.
Right.
There you go. So 2 cubits is 3 feet. So it's 3 feet by, what would that make it? 3 feet by 6 foot.
Yeah.
That's the size of the Ark of the Covenant, right? 3 feet. 3 feet.
That's an interesting thing Tom just said there. But in 1967, they put 49 holes and hit bedrock at 160 feet with a variance of 10 feet.
There you go.
Now, remember on one of the earlier podcasts this season, Steve Guptill was watching, or he was commenting on. The boys said they did over 400 drill holes on the island this season.
Yep.
400.
Yeah, that's just crazy.
Yeah.
It truly is. So 3 feet by 6 feet, it would fit up the Caisson. You could pick it up. I don't know if that thing could. Yeah, it's got a 3 foot.
I just don't want to see it.
It does. See, it could fit. If it grabs it sideways, on the 3 foot side, it could do it.
Yeah, ripping the lid off and unleashing.
And that's when you see the big vortex, the tornado above Nova Scotia.
Then they found something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, Colin could look outside his house and go, "Yep, there's
they found something."
You see the big Colin
got some new
rolling into
pictures from
the
the boat. Colin would be on this boat snapping pictures of this.
Yeah, as he's going up. Look, hey. I hope Jeff can get these.
The secret is just don't look at it, right? Look away.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. Close your eyes. Don't.
Just get the phone going.
Yeah,
live feed.
Yeah, just don't look at it. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so it, as we digress around that, but yeah, I mean, if it, is it truly on the island? Are they even in the right place? I don't know. I basically get paid for a living to be an encyclopedia. Well, there you go. There's your answer. She's always got some good stuff to come up with for sure. Yeah, put it back. Step away very slowly. I like that. Who said that? Janet. Janet said, "Yeah, put it back. Put it back in the hole. Step away. Okay, guys, we're done here. Let's go ahead and put some dirt back on that."
So, sorry for getting derailed on the whole Ark of the Covenant thing. Good enough.
Well, they say that when the Ark will be found at man's greatest need, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Are we getting close to man's greatest need?
And
we're not going to go there.
Yeah,
don't go there.
Don't go there. Yeah.
Wrong podcast for that, but we could be.
Yeah, the Awoken one said, "Imagine if the Fellowship did smash through any vault and ruin any treasure artifacts and manuscripts that were buried." It's very possible.
But they've done that, haven't they, with the drill and the bits of gold chain and the piece of parchment already.
Well, yeah.
Well,
you know what's have they ever found actual, because they got the, what is it, the XRF? There's never really been any signs of mercury or anything, has there?
That's a great idea.
That I've heard of.
Yeah, I don't ever they've never brought it up or talked, because I know in earlier seasons that was a very common thread about how is the stuff going to be kept and sealed up, and mercury was certainly a common technology, or a common, but it would be the technology of the day.
It's going to be a given when they find this treasure. It's not going to be in the best of shape anyway.
No.
Yeah,
if there's manuscripts down there, I can't imagine them still.
They're not going to survive.
No, I don't think so.
If they do, it's going to be very little of them.
Yeah.
What episode do you think they'll find the other matching boot?
Yeah.
That's a cliffhanger for next season.
Yeah. Find the other boot. Well, when you wash socks, you're always losing one of them. So why you put in a pair and you get one back? I don't know.
I think my mom might be watching tonight. She can attest. I've lost more than one rubber boot in the mud back in the backyard back in the day. So
it was funny when they found that boot. They didn't think anything of it. They just put it aside.
Right. Now here's a question, and again, this is, and I excuse my ignorance on this, but I have to ask. Might be a stupid question, but when they talk about protecting the manuscripts in mercury, is it a box that's lined with mercury, or is the mercury actually poured in there with the manuscripts?
Poured in, isn't it?
It's liquid mercury.
Yeah, it's poured in with
you put the papers in there, and then you pour the mercury in there.
Yeah. Okay. Water can't get to it.
So water can't. Okay. I thought that was the case, but I wasn't actually sure if it was you actually. The mercury is actually all around all the pages of the manuscripts. And as long as you don't break that box open so that the mercury would leak out, it would keep them protected, right?
Yes. But they found a piece of parchment, so they must have broke the box.
They must have broken the box.
And the good news is that the person who actually sealed it up died with the secrets, because he probably died of mercury poisoning.
Oh, yeah. Very true.
So I got a question about the boot they found. It was bugging me. Does that mean there was somebody down that far with those boots on?
Yeah, either that or they
Dropped it from the top?
dropped it from the top.
Hmm.
I would have to think they dropped it from the. I don't know that anybody was going down in that hole.
Yeah, I was just wondering that.
Was that part of the Dunfield fill-in?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
How far down? I mean, where in the cone does that hit?
That's what I was
Does it
wondering.
bend that far?
No, but I mean, the guys putting the shaft in place. I mean, they were
They would've had to go
reinforcing the
down that
shaft.
far.
People were certainly down there. Would it be
That's true.
unreasonable to think someone got their boot stuck in the mud, because that's what you would have been in down there? Sure.
Well, here let's go back to this picture real quick. So, I mean, they were building this box.
Yep.
And they would be people down
They
there.
would have had to go down.
And here's these ladders, and they would be, using the ladders. But I would assume these ladders back here in the back, to go down inside there.
Hmm.
So, yeah, they would have been down in there and lost one of their boots while they were down there.
So Robot said they did find liquid mercury on a drill bit.
Oh,
How
did they?
long ago was that? How long ago was that?
I know they
What
found
episode?
samples of liquid mercury, but I didn't know they found any of it while they were actually doing any of the caissons or drilling in the money pit area. Mercury will roll off things and discolor manuscripts, so you can't read them. You couldn't read them. I think they would turn a dark gray color. I don't know. That I have no idea.
I don't know.
Somebody says FDR wore a size 12. I haven't. I don't know how do you. Hugh said that. How did you figure that? Or did you read that somewhere, Hugh? Well, maybe it might be in the archive someplace. Find out.
What do you call it? Quits throwing the boot.
That's funny.
Oh, I don't know. So, the end result was that they didn't find anything significant enough in, TF1. And now they are moving over, and we'll show at the end here when they're in the war room, we're going to show where they are moving over to. So unfortunately, this one turned out to be somewhat of a bust. I wouldn't call it a complete bust, because they did find some interesting things. That they are pretty certain that they were following FDR's or that team, the old Gold Salvage and Wrecking Company. They were following their tunnel down. So they said, okay, let's move a little bit over to the east. They thought they were too far west. So, but we'll show where they toward the end of the show, they got looking at where they may where they're moving to. So next, the guys jump over to the swamp, and you got Marty, Alex, and David. They went back over to get some more scanning of the stone path, and wanting to find out exactly where it leads. They were talking about it here, this portion of it anyway, leading towards the money pit, right here from the stone road that was that they uncovered.
Mm-hmm.
So they're looking. Here they are heading over with that machine, that the GPR. It's the OKM Jeopard GPR 3D scanner. This thing's awesome. This thing is really, really cool. Because of the fact that they can scan and get the results right there on the spot, rather than having to send the data off someplace. And so they found more evidence. They found more evidence right here of the stone pathway.
Okay.
But in this particular case, they go back over to the research center, and they're working with Steve Guptill, who brings it up on his on the screen on his map, and you can see these are the areas where they were scanning. I don't know if you can see that, and I'll try to get closer here. These are the 3 pinpoints where they were scanning. I think these other points were maybe, I wish I could read this. He didn't talk about it, but these may be points where they found like ox shoes and things like that, where Gary found ox shoes, because they document everything. Gary, or as Steve, as soon as they find something, he goes out and gets a GPS coordinates on it. So, and he thinks that this is leading from the stone road here and going up lot 15 to the pine tar kiln, or what they're still calling the pine tar kiln. And here's a better look at it. So
I mean, this stuff really wasn't earth shattering. It's cool. I think it kind of confirms up what everybody's been saying. I mean, there's clearly there were ships and they were doing ship repairs. That particular cove does make sense where it is because it is kind of a, and I know the jar of today would be the tide level and water level would be different than today what it was back then, but it is a fairly gradual elevation of water. Like it's not a big giant drop off. And remember when the guys are showing in previous episodes, there would have been the remnants of an old large crib wharf structure there that they would have been bringing boats. So they would have been hauling gear back and forth, just doing repairs. Now, whether that was just, you know, again, the British, when they were coming, they were sailing in wooden ships. And, you know, I think every time you made landfall, those guys would have been fixing and doing repairs to the boats. I mean, that's, they would have been leaking and beating and pounding and people and all that stuff. So it's a very, very, very common thing.
Right. I like what, you know, and we don't know at that point. The Awoken One says, my problem with the money pit areas is too exposed. If a massive treasure was buried there, anyone like Colin going by in his boat would around Oak Island would see the location. Now, but you got to remember there was a lot less population back then.
A lot of trees.
And a lot of trees.
And it's surprising. It's not as big an area as it seems. You know, I know I don't know. It's one of these things. You take a picture and then you see it in real life. They're different, right? I mean, John, you've done the tours and been on the island and touched it.
Yeah,
so it's not like this huge, massive half-kilometer area. Like it's a pretty confined spot they're working within.
Yeah, it's not a big area at all.
No. And you would sail by it because, again, you got to remember there's 365 islands of varying sizes in Mahone Bay. Some of them might be just a couple of rocks popping out of the water, or they're big islands. So there's a lot of stuff going on down there.
You wouldn't really notice it if there was so much going on too on different islands.
Right.
You just think it's normal everyday work.
Yeah.
And when Smith and Vaughn and and the gang found it, it was dense. There were trees around because remember they found the thing went up the top. Yeah, pulley. So yeah, it wasn't like it's cleared out like it is today.
Yeah, well, because it was being used. I mean, in the Samuel Ball era, the island mostly was used for farming. So I mean, for the most part, it would have been clear cut and been fields out there.
Yep.
I mean, it looks very different today than it does then because it just would have, grown and so forth. Because you remember some of the older pictures in the maybe it was from the FDR area with the old oak trees on Isaac's Point.
Yes.
I mean, it looks completely different today than what those old pictures did.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. That's for sure. Yep. Wade Buckle had mentioned about Steve Gupsel coming back on the show. He is. Steve has said he's coming back on. And as I mentioned before, it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense to have anyone that's on Oak Island as a cast member on the show too soon because they wouldn't be able to talk about stuff. So we're waiting. Steve's already told us that he will come back on the show, and we're working out with him actually because we figure the show is going to, go all the way through April. Best guess is maybe even the first week of May. We're not certain on that. We don't have, a certainty on that, but they, at least all the way through April. So if we have them on too soon, they can't talk about what has not aired because of their NDA. So we're waiting. So Stephen will be coming back on the show, and then he'll be able to really dig into stuff and tell us about all kinds of things, that are happening on the island. And Tom just shared a picture here. Let's see. Do you know what year this is? I'm going to show this picture real quick, and I don't know what year this is. This is pre-Causeway. Let's see. Kind of cool looking here. Let's see. And I know Henry DeWitt loves to find these old pictures. I love these things. So pre-Causeway, obviously, because the Causeway comes across right down here, I believe. Is that correct?
Yep.
Right here. Where you see that little boat dock right there. And there's a little building right here. So yeah, I'm not sure what year this is, but let's Let's see. Before, yeah, before 1965 is all I know. Yep. Yeah. So obviously, but you could see, like, and I wonder, because it's been farmed so much over the years, how much has the trees been cleared and grown over its life?
Well, you can see the money pit area is cleared out a bit there.
Yep, right up here.
Yep, it sure
Yeah.
is.
Yep, right there. So, yeah, and then the dividing line for the lots, dividing the island in half right here.
Yep.
So, and then they talk about even the piers, the wharfs that were over here off of Samuel Ball's property. You can see where they went out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty clear.
Yeah.
Yep. Interesting. I love these old pictures of the island. I really do. I think they're so neat. Fred's place is from the late 50s, and and Fred's place would be right over here, which
Yeah.
is not. There's no house there or nothing, no building or nothing there. So
There's a little wharf there.
yeah, there is a little wharf. It looks like, or was something right here.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It actually
Yeah,
does
it's-
look like there's somebody working at the money pit area, though. If you look closely, it looks like
Yeah.
there is some machinery up there.
Yeah, it's hard to tell, but you're right. It does.
Yeah,
It's like there's some kind of activity there,
Yeah.
or the remnants of activity.
yeah.
Maybe
Or,
it's what's left over from 1909. I don't know. Because
That's a
from
cool picture.
1909, who was next to do work there?
Someone had put that up there a little while ago.
Yeah, we have that written down someplace. There were the series of aerial photos taken in the 1930s. That was Henry. Yeah, Henry DeWitt. Yeah, you've shown us quite a few of those old pictures on our Facebook group page, which is really cool.
it feels like so long ago it was the Laganas that were there.
Yeah,
Feels like
they've been
it's
at
been
it for what, 15 years now, 14 years. Yep. So anyway, getting back to this, the old they thought that was kind of neat when Fred had speculated whether or not that lot 15 where the pine tar kiln is, what they're calling a pine tar kiln, which I think some of them are saying now probably wasn't one. I don't know. But anyway, he called it possibly it had a question mark there, old tunnel entrance.
Mhm.
That's on lot 15, but that's where Steve Guptill is saying that road pathway could very well have been leading to, probably was leading to. And that would make sense if they were using if it were a pine tar kiln, they were making pine tar to repair boats. You'd want that path to be able to take the pine tar back down to those boats.
I thought Laird Niven and those guys had recovered charcoal and burnt material, and that's why they
There
kind of
was
come to
burnt
that
material in there,
conclusion.
yes.
Yeah.
Yep. But they did not find, as far as I remember, they did not find any pine tar residue.
A long time ago.
This picture here shows the speculation of where that path leads to, going from the old stone pathway all the way up to the pine tar kiln. But they still, they were looking going this way, going toward the money pit. I thought that's what they were scanning, but they weren't. They were scanning going up this way. I thought they were looking to see over this way to see if the path leads to the money pit. So I was a little confused as to why all of a sudden are they going up this way to the. I mean, it's still something they need to find out, but
Because if you keep going through, if you took that red line, kept walking past the pine car until, because that's where they would find those British military encampments. They were finding all the knickknacks and so forth. Was that part of the island there?
yeah. All right. So let's see. So next, okay, that's where they headed over to. That they got all that from the research center. Now we don't jump down to the wash plant, and in the wash plant, obviously they're going through all of the spoils that are being brought over after Gary does his scanning, and they give it a visual look over. They scoop it all back up, head to the wash plant with it, and then they run it through this piece of equipment. And there's a good shot of it there, aerial photograph. And of course, this has been down in Smith's Cove area. And this is where they reach up. They found that one, like a spike or a nail that looked like it. And he said, that's pretty modern. So that was thrown out. But then this piece of metal here. And again, they keep finding these different pieces of metal. And this one here, and I grabbed this one because, of course, we know that they scanned us, and we're going to go there next with the XRF. But you look at this, and you see the shiny parts as he was turning it. You could see the shiny parts now. And again, we know that they went over to the research center, which is where we're heading next. I'm sorry, the archaeology trailer. They went to the wash table first. We're going to go there first. But they did look at that, and they did find residue or, bits of gold on it. Before, and I'll put this out there now, and we'll get to that in a few minutes, but why would all those pieces of metal have gold on them? Why? I mean, if it's not there, is it something that was gilded and the gilding just wore all off? But we'll get to that in a moment. This is one of the things right here. This picture here is one of the ones that aggravates so many people. I know Linda, because there is
fire hose.
Yeah, with the fire hose, and this is mild what he's doing right here. There is other pictures of him that I didn't grab where he's really hitting it pretty hard, and you can just imagine all those pieces of parchment just getting blown right off the table or right through the table by the water pressure that's coming off this fire hose. It is just like, why are you?
They could have done it in a gentler way.
Yeah, can't you wash it?
Even a garden hose would have been better.
I know. Yeah, there you go. There's Linda right there. And she says that just about every time she sees it. Lighten up with the fire hose, Jack. Yeah, for sure. Because it's just blowing little pieces of parchment all over the place. But they did find, and now we're finally getting to this point. They did find the pieces of, is it concrete or is it not concrete? I think it's some form of what they made into a concrete type substance way back then.
Or is it pottery?
Or is it pottery? No, I don't think it's pottery. But you see this. Go ahead.
It could be. You never know. I mean, it's got a flat bottom. It could be part of a cup or bowl or something.
No, I'm not going there. Sorry.
I tried.
Because then you're going to say it belongs to the indigenous folks. I'll stop.
The piece in his right hand, is it curved? Is that like curved and smoothed off?
It looks curved, yeah.
It does look curved. I mean, it does kind of.
You can see the curve right there. It is curved.
It looks like old pottery.
I'm not going to go there. I think it is a sort of a sort of concrete type substance. I honestly believe that, and one of the reasons is because of what John just said. It's curved. It was formed around something, or like concrete. You put it on there, you form it onto whatever you're putting it on. You trowel it out and get it nice and smooth. It is going to, whatever it's on top of, whether it be metal or whether it be wood, you're going to get that. You're going to get a copy, a blueprint, or a copy of that surface on it. It's going to be flat or it's going to be curved, but it's going to have that smooth section to it.
I think it was like a concrete / masonry type material.
Yes.
That, because they would have had, even when you're putting the tunnel, I mean, there were people clearly in it.
Yep.
In these tunnels at depth. And I think in order to keep water and moisture from coming in, they would have had to try to use them from sealing, whether it be clay or concrete or masonry material. And that's what this stuff's coming up. And I don't think they have in large sums of it, because I think it would just degrade over time in the water and soil, because it's not new technology.
It actually looks like what they put between bricks when they're putting bricks up.
There she is. Come on. I knew she was going to make her way up here at some point. She's yelling at me now. She's all mad because I made her get down. So chinking. So that's, somebody brought that up. That was Gail. Gail brought that up. And could it have been something that
Tom's got a good comment there.
Yeah.
1967 drill program at 200 feet. Experts at Canada Cement Lafarge.
Yep.
Am I pronouncing that correct?
Yep.
Found the cement was a primitive type used in the 16th and 17th century.
There you go. Look at that.
In perhaps an old mining operation, which would have had buckets or materials and handling the stuff that would end up having residue on it that, I don't know, could it be?
Could it be?
Not trying to be a party pooper. Saying there
Oh, you're out of here. Oh, we lost Colin. Is gone. I don't know what happened. His internet connection was. But anyway, so it is, again, the only thing we've got to go on when we talk about the concrete is going back to the Truro company and what they pulled up from the chapel, what they said they found when they drilled into what they call the chapel vault. They came up with that concrete substance, what they say, or they think, they speculate was on top of some sort of a wooden vault. They encased it in concrete. They drilled down through it. They brought these samples up. That's all we really have to go on, I think, right now, isn't it?
But think, Jeff, what would the rounded part, the one in the right hand, what would that be poured over? Would it be poured over a finished off timber?
Yeah.
Yeah. It seemed to me it would. I mean, that's the only way you could really get that curvature on there.
Right. Or metal.
You mean the end of it?
Yeah. Well, I think the rest of it's also curved too.
Yeah.
It doesn't look flat. It looks like the whole thing's curved.
Yeah, I think the whole thing is curved. I think this is a piece that was over a piece of metal or something like that. It was curved. I think it was. And it's smooth enough. If it was on wood, knowing how smooth they got that wood, which wasn't that smooth, it would have been a lot rougher surface. I think this was on top of metal.
So are we saying the chapel vault was also sealed or something was also sealed in metal down there?
They could have been on the edges, on the corners.
True,
maybe.
True.
To help hold some of it together. I don't know. Did they? Well, I mean, the copper plates, they haven't brought up any copper plates, but they brought up, but the metal, if it was metal like they're bringing up now, would that metal have gold on it? I don't know. I just don't know. Here's that picture where they speculate about the chapel vault and having the concrete on it, and concrete would be formed over the edge, which would give you that curvature if it was over a piece of wood that was.
Well, it had to be a piece of wood that was worked.
Yeah,
because normally the pieces of wood are right angles, 90-degree angles, so it would have to be a worked piece somehow.
Yep. Yeah.
Not like what you see there.
Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yep. If it was gilded or plated, it would be on metal. That's what Amy was talking about, the gold being on something metal. Yeah. For sure. Yep.
So.
One thing I wanted to, and we brought this up in the pre-show. We were talking about this in the pre-show, and the guy said I'm all wet. But yeah, I saw this. This is a picture that I snapped, and it went by so fast. It was hard to get a good picture of it. This is a chunk that they brought up for the pre-show. This was in the next Caisson, I think, or was it? I think it was in the next Caisson. But here you go back to this. And you go back to the concrete being on top of here. If this is true, we don't know for a fact if this is true, that there is a wooden vault encased in concrete. We're going by what the Truro company said. So if it's true, and then all of a sudden they bring up this big chunk of something that Craig is handling here, and he dropped it on the table with a big ka-chunk, indicating it was very heavy. I thought initially it looked to me like a piece of concrete that might have been on top of the chapel vault. You would have to make it kind of thick. You're not going to make it this thin, right? Yep. But then again, one of the first things that John said was slate. Yeah, it could be. Or some other rock that's found in the area that might just simply be flat, right? I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, am I all wet with thinking it's a piece of concrete? Maybe.
I'd love to see what the chat says. If you want to vote for either concrete.
What do you guys
slate.
think? What do you guys out in chat think about this piece? That this was in the preview for next week's show, and I grabbed it simply because of this and this chunks of concrete. and then talking about the chapel vault being encased in concrete, and then boom, he pulls up a big old flat piece of something significant.
So
Amy asked, "Is there slate on the island, around the island, in the area?"
I don't think so. I wouldn't bet my life on it, but I don't remember seeing just, it's more granite and, round pieces of granite. I don't remember seeing much for slate down around that area.
Mm-hmm. Seth Bound says, "I'm going to be an optimist and say it's concrete." Thank you. That's what I'm doing. I don't know. Money Pit Bedrock is all and hydrite. All of the western part of the island is slate bedrock. That's Dave Petrella. I don't know. If it was slate, there would be visible layers. I do not think that there is slate there. It's more inland and coastal and gray, wacky, and granite.
So Jeff, can you toggle between the two pictures? I'm looking. Yeah, I'm looking for between the other concrete. Yes. Is it consistent? I mean, does it look like it's the same qualities?
Well, it's hard to tell. The thing I like about it is this: if you took this piece and you made it much bigger, what would this edge look like?
That's what I'm asking. Is the edge, is the consistency the same?
Okay, because you see how bumpy and sparkly in areas, and
that's definitely concrete for sure. That's definitely
same thing here.
Yeah.
And that's what I thought I saw.
Okay.
Here, I thought I saw that bumpy.
You might be right. See, you compare the sample. Well, we know it's concrete because of the curvature,
right? I guess we'll find out next week. But boy, I don't know.
Can we toggle back again?
Yeah. I got to make it smaller so I get my arrows.
It does look like it's the same gray, the same.
It's the same coloring.
It's the same coloring.
I think you guys are stretching, man. I think you're stretching.
We're just trying to make Jeff feel good.
Yeah, you're making me feel good thinking it's concrete. I don't know. Awoken One says he thinks it might be concrete. If it's concrete, it was definitely on metal. Yes, that's Eric Spencer said that. Mary thinks it's concrete. This Facebook user who is Kat Fulton says basalt. Thank you. Basalt. Wade Buckle says porous in texture. This Facebook user Janet says looks like wood to me. So you think this picture right here looks like a chunk of wood? I don't know. The way it came up on the table, it didn't seem like it was a chunk of wood. It seemed like it was pretty heavy.
The thud kind of gave it away.
Yeah, the kathunk on the table.
I think it's a big old piece of clay with just rocks and
It could be.
We'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out next week. Yeah, for sure.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned. This might be one of those cliffhangers that they gave us, right? Making us think, "Ooh, look at that concrete." No, it turns out to be, a big slab of clay, hardened clay. Tom Burns, right here. Okay, let me get rid of the picture so we can bring this up so we don't cover up Colin. Tom Burns.
The limestone thing is very possible.
1909 6-inch core sample was thought to be concrete, then determined to be limestone. So concrete in 1967 and limestone in 1909, both found according to experts.
And that would make a lot of sense too, because that limestone would form if it was in the ground and between the water and other materials pushing on it. That would make a lot of sense.
That's true.
Yep. All right. Well, we're going to find out next week. Anyway, so we spent enough time talking about that. I guess I just wanted it to be concrete because then that kind of proves the whole chapel vault thing. Is why are you going to find a piece of concrete that big in a?
I can see it next week. Jeff will be going, "I told you."
Yeah. Boy, I feel like kind of foolish now, don't I? Yeah. One or the other is going to be said next week. You'll find out right here.
Well, you already won the at least 2 can vote, Jeff.
At least 2 cans. I'm gonna win. I don't know what the prize was. Was there a prize? No, probably not. Yeah, we're not big on prizes. All right. So anyway, we jump over to the archaeology trailer. And this is where they are going to be looking at some of the things they found on the wash table and in the on the wash plant and the wash table. One of the things that they found, of course, they found these little strips of metal. There's that one there, this one here, and this one here, those little pieces of metal. But they also found what I saw this, and I was thinking, is that a piece of bone? Is this one back here a piece of? They didn't say anything about bone, so I'm having to think, no, it probably is not. But it, when I looked at this picture that I took, and I'm looking at this, you know how bone kind of has that porous. Let's see. So I
It
mean,
also looks like a dried out piece of leather,
Yeah.
yeah,
like a leather strap of a, you know what I mean? Like in a trunk, there's those leather straps. When they get old and dried out, it kind of looks like that. But
yeah. I don't know.
You could be onto something there, Jeff. That is an interesting piece.
Yeah, I saw that in this picture, and I had to grab it because I thought, man, is that a piece of bone? I just don't know. It
but
does
if
have
it was bone, they would have mentioned it, eh?
You would think so, unless that's, they would want you hanging on for next week.
They've got
Yeah.
at least, what were we saying? There's going to be probably 25 episodes. That was 16. So you've got 9 more episodes to fill in.
Right. Yeah, Seth Bound said he thought bone too.
I thought leather.
Price's dinner with Vanessa. I don't know if that's going to be possible.
But Jeff, what bone would that be? I mean, just based on its shape. I mean, was it?
I don't
Just
see
that,
it.
that porous end of it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking at. Is this porous end right here?
But would it be human?
But I don't see it as bone.
They did find 2 other pieces, 2 other people's bones in there, and they only found small. So
I know.
I'm assuming there's more.
Yeah, you would have thought that they would have said something about it, but so anyway, and this one here kind of looked like a leg bone, a piece of leg bone. Again,
Yeah,
I'm just
like a femur or something.
I could be completely wrong, folks. As you know, I'm just looks like bone. Somebody else says it looks like bone to them. It did. It looked like bone to me when I looked at this picture close up. And they found bone down there before, as we talked about earlier.
True.
So, anyway, and so of course some metal pieces and whatnot. But
So he said looks too flat to be bone, unless it's a rib.
No, it's got a little bit of flex to it. I mean, and size wise, there's that wooden dowel that's behind it. I mean, they're not really big,
piece of
they're
wooden
not
dowel.
large pieces.
I thought the leather from a handle, but I don't know. I could be wrong.
Yeah,
We shall find out, I guess.
yeah.
Not to be negative, but that is awfully disappointing. They dug that monster Caisson, and that's what they came out with.
Yeah.
That put 160 feet in the ground and pulled that out.
Yeah, it is. I know. Yeah, definitely is. So when they scan these 2 pieces of metal, this one and this one,
Someone asks if that's the leg from the boat.
Oh, seriously?
oh, all right. Who was that? That was
Anonymous.
that was Janet. Or no, it wasn't Janet. Janet said it looks too flat. Oh, it was Cat. Cat Fulton said that.
That's a great one.
Oh, toe bones. All right. So
Anyway,
yeah. So anyway, moving right along. So anyway, we got this was the scan of those 2 pieces of metal, those 2 right here. And lo and behold, they do have a percentage of gold on them.
What is MN?
I don't know. What is that? Magnesium?
That magnesium.
Fe is iron, so it's mostly iron, 94, 90, almost 95% iron.
Magnesium. Amen.
Yeah. Magnesium. I don't know what some of these other ones are. It's whatever this PB is. There's 2.013. I should have looked this up and had it all written down.
PB be lead, wouldn't it?
Is that lead? Ooh. Is
lead.
what's huh?
PB's lead.
PB's lead.
What is mercury? I don't know.
Someone's Googling out there.
Google it real quick.
HG.
Man, I don't see any HG in there. Yeah, PB is lead. That was Jeff. Thank you. Anchor Tours. And a lot of people jumped in. Yeah, Cat. So, I don't know. This OS, 1.81. Yeah, Dave Petrell says, what's OS? I don't know.
So
Some of these are...
They're saying Hg is magnesium.
Oh,
I
that's
think.
that's not here.
No,
No,
it's mercury.
OS
Hg
is
is mercury.
osmium.
Is mercury, yeah.
Mn is magnesium.
But
can't they just say
for
Me?
that is a good thing to keep an eye out for future episodes if they're
Yeah.
going through the XR. If you ever see an Hg in there,
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
That is for good point. Thank you. No,
OS
sorry, I was
is
wondering.
osmium.
Osmium. Yep.
What is what?
OS is osmium.
I don't even know what that is.
Chemical
What is
element of one of the platinum metals.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah, I'm just
gotta-
Googling here.
Got more of that than it does gold. And then the other piece of metal, they scanned both of them. That was the first one, and this was the second one. And again, some of the same things, different concentrations, of course, but some of the same items.
very
I
small.
wonder if that's just something that rubbed against gold.
And,
Is it so
and, you know,
low?
that small amount, it could be. I mean, it's less than 1%.
It could have just been something rubbing against it and got a bit of it on it.
Could it be that it
It
was,
could be.
gold in the ground that it just happened to rub agast?
Is
I
that
don't
TI, Jeff?
Did you say gold in the
TI,
ground,
yes.
Jeff? Naturally occurring gold in the ground?
Yeah,
Well-
TI is one of them. What's that?
Titanium, of all things.
Titanium, really?
Yeah.
Gold plating. Amy said gold plating or gilding. Kate's
Amy, I mean, a lot of people say gold plating, but I would think that even a gold plated object, it would have a much higher percentage than.
right. Now, didn't they back in the day? Yeah, HD. Barbara says HD is the mercury. Remember back when they did gilding like that? Did not they take like a piece of wood or whatever they were going to gild, and the stuff was like tissue paper, the gold was, and they put it on there and then spread it on with like a brush.
Yeah.
I mean, is that gilding, or did they go on much thicker than that?
Jeff, Amy said the amount of gold shown is typical for plating.
There you go. That's what I was wondering, if it's something that was gilded and they put it on, it was so thin that you would know that if it was put on a piece of wood or something like that, it's going to come, or a piece of metal, and it was put on so thinly, it would come off pretty easily, I would think.
Yeah, that would certainly make sense.
Yeah.
And it's manganese, not magnesium.
Oh, thank you. Manganese. Yeah, she was trying to tell me up here, and I wasn't paying enough attention. So, thank you, Linda. IR is iridium. Iridium. So, anyway, interesting.
So we were thinking it might be gold leaf. Is that what we're thinking, Jeff?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if it's that thin and it was able to be, washed off or whatever, then it very well could be, right?
I'm having flashbacks to my high school science class doing periodic table.
Were those elements there?
Come on now. I know I'm old, but
Oh, wow. Oh, man. All right. So as we speculate on what that metal or that was, the traces of could be traces of gold leaf. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, Awoken One. That's exactly what I'm thinking. I'm gonna have to just call you AO like Linda does. AO, and it's much easier. It very well could be. The leaf has an average thickness of 2 to 10 microns, and that's pretty small, pretty thin. So they went over to lot 15, and Gary and they had all the markers were out there, and they did find a couple of spikes. They found a spike, and they found this little jewel. It looks like some sort of a little hammer. It did. I mean, a little claw hammer.
Yep.
that was what I thought it was as soon as he flashed it out. But
a little tiny claw hammer. Interesting. And there's another picture of it sitting on the table. But little tiny claw hammer. Pretty funny. I mean, this would be like something that a person that's working on building a very small, like a little chest, and they're nailing the. You don't want a big hammer for that. You want a very small one for putting a little tiny little brad nails or whatever in the edges of a little small box or something that you're making. This would be more of a fine tool, fine work tool. This small of a hammer, at least in my opinion. You're not going to be hitting anything very hard with it. And there's another little spike that they found. What's the difference between plating and gilding and leaf? Anybody got a good one for that?
I'm sure Amy does.
Yes.
Amy, what's your answer to that? What's the difference
That's what I'm
between
waiting for.
plating, gilding, and leaf? There we go. Amy's going to have an answer for us.
Yes, you will.
I love her answers.
Tom, that piece of bone, a fossilized baby ox foot. There you go.
Oh,
Oh no, he was talking about this.
oh my God.
Oh, and as we move along. All right, over in the war room, and this kind of starts to wrap up the episode for last night. In the war room, they got looking at Steve. They were looking at where they had dug. Now, this is the one that they just did. This was the big Caisson 10-footer they just put in. It does skirt one of the 8-footers that they put in. But this is the one that they put in. This was D2, when the one they were calling or covering D2, which is the well that they had done, that they had found the water sample showing showing gold and it was silver samples in the water, and they also found the wood that was going back to the 15th century and stuff like that. They found in this particular D2, so that's this one. C1, this is C1 right here in the middle. And now they've jumped over to, they're going to jump over here. And this one is, if I see this correctly, this is 4, 5, and 6. So this was, I thought they said it was 4.5, but it's actually, if they're going to be here, it's actually over further than they're going to cover 4.5.
So each square would be what then? 2.5 feet per
I think
square?
they figured 2.5 or 2.5 feet, I think,
So
is
they've
what it
gone
was.
5 feet from the other. 5 feet over.
Yeah.
It looks like they're going to bring up a lot of wood.
Yeah, they're going to jump over and just be just on the other side of C1. A farrier hammer. Could be, yes. Yes. Yes, as you mentioned that, BC St. Jean said a farrier hammer, and it is, you're right. It is. I've seen farrier. I had the horses. We grew up with horses, and I've seen a farrier hammer. It is very small hammer like that. That's a very good point. Yeah, it could very well be a farrier hammer. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. Yep. So they're going to put this next one in right over here. Just jump over on the other side of C1. I think I've got a picture of. Let's see. Yeah. So here's D2. 10-foot Caisson was right in here, and now they're going to jump over here on this side. And I think they were doing was it was 4.5? I forget the name of it now. They talked about it. It's probably in my notes here. CD 4.5.
Well, that's how they tricked me anyway, because it's only 5 feet over from where the other can was. So
yeah, that's what I was mentioning at
very
the beginning there, because that's why it tricked you from taking your pictures from the boat, because it's not that far away. They just wanted to go a few feet over to the east and pop that next can in there. Doug feels that they were too far to the west. Since the collapse was to the east, they should move east. In 1861, an attempt was made to retrieve two 20-inch tall stacked chests. And I don't know if I've got, that's this picture here. And that's one of the things that I was talking about was the fact that the guys, remember they were talking about this picture here. And they were trying to go down and see if they could come up underneath. And I thought, well, that was dumb. Why? They're going to hit water either way, right? But not if they were looking at this, if they were speculating that this was the case, then I could see, yes, coming up underneath it was the right idea.
Well, you would think that whatever it is, it would have been put in a fashion that it was retrievable.
Right. Which goes back to the offset chamber, right?
Yeah, you would have had to know exactly where it is and where to dig to get to it.
Yep. So this thing here, I was wondering, when they keep showing this picture, I'm thinking, well, that's stupid. They're going to hit water no matter what they do, even if which they ended up hitting water, and they thought they ran into the edge of the flood tunnel, and therefore that's what flooded this tunnel, and then they had to abandon the whole idea. And I thought, well, this was kind of why were they even thinking this would work? But if this were the case, that's why they were thinking it would work, because they would come down here and be able to get in underneath it or to the side of it and avoid thinking that it was, had dirt enough clay and everything, blue clay, on top of it, sealing these chests off, these two stacked chests, that they would be able to access it from underneath or from the side. And that's why they were drilling this tunnel to the side of them like this. Okay. So, and again, sometimes I do anyway, kind of look at these pictures going, well, that doesn't make any sense at all. But when you look at it like this, it probably, if that's what they were thinking, then it does make sense. So anyway, so they're going to jump over and just do this. This will be the next caisson going in that we will see next week, that they pull up that piece of concrete that was on top of the chapel vault that Craig is checking out there on the table. So we'll see what happens. What do you think, guys? Is this going to be the one? Is this going to be the?
Could it be the last one?
Could it be the one that they find the answers?
They said they had enough cans to go and put 4 down.
Right.
I thought they would put 1. The rumor mill is 2, and clearly it is 2, or at least 2.
At least 2. Yep.
I think they simply ran out of time. Because the time period ran, it was less than 4 weeks from start to finish, from them setting up to tearing it to taking out as far as the caisson. But they said it took about a week to put a can down.
Yeah. They only got, I forget what they were saying. It was, I said this last week or last show. We were talking about this because Vanessa was referring to where they were and where they would be tomorrow. And it was like 20 feet or 10 feet.
Yeah.
20 feet.
And you would think, I know for the show, they kind of go and let's pick and where to go and all this stuff, but you would think that this would be pretty pre-planned, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So if you plan the timing and everything to put 4, because they brought all enough equipment out for 4 cans.
Yeah.
And they certainly hit something before that, I'd say in can number 2. Because the next one's probably going to take, I bet it's going to beat 3 episodes up. Just setting the new can, digging out the can, figuring out,
And if they right, because they got to pull all those cans back out of the ground because they're going to use them for the next one. Yes. So, and then they got to fill the hole back in and stabilize it. If they're only moving over, a few feet. John's wanting to say something. No,
no,
you're kind of quiet tonight, John.
Yeah, just listening.
So in thinking, okay, if they only did 2, why did they stop at a second one? If it's only 2 and they did stop, why did they stop at a second one? I'm going to say it's because they found something. And they had to stop because now they need to do further investigation on it.
Yeah.
Or get more permission from the province.
It maybe, because they found something.
Yep.
I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, I think it is. I think they found something. And I was hoping that they found something more significant in the first one, but it turned out to be kind of a bust. They found those pieces of metal, and yes, they found metal with the gold, gilding on it or whatever. And I saw some of this going by, and they were.
If they found something culturally significant, it's going to all stop.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Just immediately, and that may be why they stopped. Maybe they found something culturally significant.
Yep.
Makes sense. They would have to get people in.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Now, and here is the for next week. I did. Oops, sorry.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to show this picture right here. This is what they end up finding in next week's show, a piece of parchment.
It survived the wash table with
the hose. And the hose. And they probably blew the rest of it off, and this one got left behind. But a little piece of parchment. And I think they say that they said something about finding
metal on it
or writing on it or something. I thought.
No, really.
They thought there was something, they were scanning it with some kind of a scanner or something, and they thought they found some sort of writing on it. Bacon's manuscripts. Bacon's manuscripts. Yeah. I don't know. So this is going to be cool to find out what this was. So again, was it they had the 1492 boot, leather boot or a heel that was found in the wash table spoils. And so is this the guy's logbook? He was down there writing some line. He dropped his book. Or is it a piece of important?
It's not vellum. Looks like it's paper, parchment.
Yeah, pretty cool. There was another picture too, and I caught this one on the most recent Bacon's mom's manuscript. There was a piece of I saw another little promo when I was watching today, and it showed that right there. They found this piece of wood, another piece of squared off wood, but they also were talking about this. And the guy that mentioned it said something about I thought I wrote it down and I couldn't find it. I was looking to see. I did not write it down, or I can't find where I wrote it down. But this picture was shown. It's on one of the most recent ones, and he talks about having something to do with explosives or something like that. And I don't know where. Huh?
What is that?
See, remember the guys were doing. I can't remember the guy's name now. I should remember. Dunfield. What they were doing, they would have had dynamite and so forth. Would have been wrapped in.
Yep.
It's like a paper material,
Mm-hmm.
so it's more than likely part of that when the guys were out doing some.
Yep.
That piece there would be I would.
Wasn't that way further down though?
Well, I don't know how far down or where this was found.
I thought they said they did a straight line or something like that, and it was down further. But
I think that's what you're going to find. That's going to be.
Does it look like vellum to you guys? Does that look like sheep skin? Is it vellum, or does that look like paper that be wrapped around something, or does that look like parchment? It looks more modern.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's what I think. It's a casing from a blasting cat, or like a dynamite, the TNT
stick of dynamite.
Yeah.
But didn't they say in the preview for next week that there was metallic writing or something on it?
They did.
That right?
Yeah. And whether they're talking about this or not, we don't know for sure. But that it did. Yes, they did. There was a quick segment that said something about finding writing on it, and it could just be the letters TNT. I don't know.
It could be TNT or whatever
Or
it was.
It could be even a different piece. I don't know.
Yeah,
but that's not consistent with the other piece of parchment that they pulled up, is it?
Nah, I don't think so.
I don't think it is consistent.
Well, this almost looks like it's oiled, like a piece of dynamite wrap would be, wouldn't it? It'd be kind of oiled.
Iron gall ink.
What's that? Is that what's on?
No, one of the guys just made a comment on there about.
Oh.
They briefly talked about the ink. I believe they did mention it was some type of iron.
Iron gall ink. Oh, okay. Thank you, Kate. Yeah. That's where Dale was saying it was some metal or something, because they said
they mentioned something about metal ink or metal in the ink or something.
Yeah. Yeah, the preview was all about ink. That's what Linda was saying there too. So
Wolf said iron gall ink is used for writing.
Yep.
Purple or black, brown ink made iron salts, satanic acid for vegetables.
Jim F's got something written there too. Iron gall ink, also known as common ink, standard ink, oak gall ink, or iron gall nut ink. It's a purple, black, or brown black ink made from iron salts and tannic acids for vegetable sources. Interesting.
Hence why I think you'll see it'd be part of that dynamite or from the excavation projects previously. It is my initial. That'll be my guess for what will come out in the next episodes. But
could be. You might be right.
I don't know.
You might be right.
You have such a wide span for that ink use. I'm looking at it now, 5th century to 19th century. So it was a pretty common ink. It's a huge span of time.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's a common. Yeah. Wow. Interesting. Still sold today.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, so it very well could be. We don't know. Yeah, what it was on.
Someone said gall ink is used for dynamite printing.
Yeah.
Let's see, I'm just looking at some of the things you sent here, John. Too. I was looking at these during the show here, but some of the pictures you had. Yeah. So the one thing that I did want to also mention before we wrap up here was also that at the end of the season, and we've been communicating with some of the cast members of the show off and on, and of course they don't if with the NDAs, um, they were very well, a couple of things that I wanted to point out, and this is why I think they do find something in the second Caisson. Is that and one thing was that they were very elated about the season.
Mhm.
And that's what Linda put up here as a reminder to me about that is that the fellowship was super happy at the end of the season.
Yeah.
It's not something that could create an all stop, in her opinion. She very well could be right. So, but they did seem to be happier at the end of the season than we've seen in past seasons. And the other thing was that they've been very tight lipped.
Oh,
Mentioned
yeah.
this before about Colin mentioned about the sign that went up that said the island is closed. They were not letting anybody. I mean, they were even when Dale went out there to get the check and stuff. They were very adamant about, you know, how far you could go and stuff, weren't they? Were they
Where I
not?
could go, where I could look at, what I could take a picture of. Oh, it was very strict.
Yeah.
And they were
How
active
long we
on
were
the
allowed? We were
island.
only allowed on the island for I think 12 minutes,
Wow.
12 or 15 minutes at the most.
And they were
We
active
weren't allowed out of
very,
the
very
car until
late.
we weren't allowed out of the car until they told us we could get out and stuff like that. It was really, really strict.
So
Wow.
they had watchers on you. What were you going to say, Colin?
No, they were active on the island really late in the season.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
because the guys were out showing pictures, and I think Steve Guptill and those guys had some Facebook posts into like November, even December. Like it was very unusual. Usually
Yeah.
wrap up, it's done, everyone's gone, show's
Right.
over. But this year they pulled the equipment out, but they kept there were
Working.
things carrying
Mhm.
on.
Yep. And I think there's some other experiments that were going on, possibly over the winter months. We heard about that. And again, this is me making some guesses here based upon pictures that I've seen from whatever. But remember they were talking about muon technology and looking at the scans of this is the muon
Yeah.
particles coming through, and watch it coming through the earth, and then they can read it, and they can see if there's any voids in the ground or anything like that by putting these sensors in the ground. And I think, honestly, I believe that some of that technology, some of that testing was going on over the winter months. May still be going on. So
I
we don't
think,
know. But I mean,
yeah,
that's something that they may be doing some of that still. I mean, there's still people on the island even in the winter. I mean, we saw there was a
Sure.
picture that Scott Barlow shared just yesterday about being on the island in the wintertime. So they're still out there doing stuff. We don't know what. So it's interesting, but they were very happy, and then they also closed down the island, pretty much locked it down. And Colin, I was going to ask you about that sign that went up down the road as you're coming down the road there to the island. And it said the island is closed.
it,
Have you seen that in past seasons? Have they done it before?
no, the security was certainly more than previous years for crews, because before you could drive down by the causeway. There'd be no one really around. There are other private homes leading up there, and you never, usually we just turn around and leave. You wouldn't drive out there.
Yeah, yeah. Very good thing, Patrice. Colin was just talking about that, looking like a piece of dynamite wrap paper.
Blast
And
from
look what the
past.
name of the next week's show is. Blast from the past.
Good call. Good call.
Yeah, very good call, Patrice. You might be exactly right.
And it's funny, a couple of people had put comments and said, "Oh, the guys would be celebrating a local restaurant." Well, funny enough, I wasn't there, but I know, I know I have other friends that would run across them when they were doing taping and stuff like at the Mug and Anchor,
Yep.
and everyone there has to sign. Like my friends that were there had to sign non-disclosure agreements when you're in anywhere that they're doing filming with them.
Wow.
Interesting. You can't talk about what they say or do or whatever in that get together. Wow. Yeah, and
It'd
Amy
be
said,
I know it would be very scripted when they're in there doing their thing for the show, but
Yep.
the cameras go off.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yep. Yeah, there's Amy said wrap party was mid-November, so yeah, it's pretty late in the season, really. You think about it, for them still to be out doing stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
mean, don't get me wrong, they were pretty late in the year getting going this year. I mean,
yeah,
COVID had thrown things for a loop. No one was really sure, and they were late.
yeah.
But
And as we finish up, what's the latest on the COVID mandates and protocol going on right now?
She's all up at the middle of March.
yeah,
Everything's
So-
done.
Everything back to normal, middle of March.
That's what they're saying. All
March
mandates are
21st.
lifted. March 21st, all mandates are lifted. All masking is lifted. All social every protocol is lifted.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it seems like it's going to be the same way it was exactly 2 years minus 1 day or plus 1 day.
Right.
Yeah.
So and you think about that, the guys were not able to get out to the island until like June. We're talking about the Americans, Marty and Rick and Craig Tester and all them guys. Obviously the locals could go onto the island. Obviously they could. So it kept them from getting out there. Now we know that they would normally start showing up out on the island, late March, early April.
Yeah, I know for sure that they have things booked and so forth scheduled for this year. So there's definitely another season, which is good news.
Yep.
That's happening for 2022. The summer they're going to be having another season.
Yep.
So, yeah.
And there was talk of doing another fundraiser with us for Christmas Daddies.
Yeah, which
There
is
you go.
great news.
So
Yeah.
There's stuff going down. I got about another. Usually by the end of the ice, actually went out in my cove the other week. We had
Really?
gotten really warm weather. Usually you don't get ice out until another month or so. I got cold for a couple of days and froze up a bit, but I suspect by the end of March, probably won't be the big boat, but the small boat will have in and start seeing what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, good. That good to hear. Gail said she just got out of the hospital last night. Oh my goodness. I hope you're okay. I hope it wow. Let's see. Jeff Anchor Tours, another chance for a hat. Jeff from Anchor Tours said, I've had guests go into the pub and Anchor during filming and they had to sign model releases.
yeah, anytime you're on camera.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That makes sense.
Even
Yep.
if you're in the background or something, if they caught you in the shot, they
Okay,
Yeah.
somebody keeps. There's a couple of posts about Vanessa and Christmas. Yes, I'm getting some stuff from Vanessa next week. That we're gonna do the same thing we did last year with donations and all that stuff.
Yeah, for Christmas daddies. Yeah, that was great. Linda proudly wears that hat. So
Rock and Vanessa are sending me a bunch of signed stuff and pictures and stuff. I have no idea what's coming. I know there's one of it's going to be a show worn hat. This is what I was told, a hard hat that's signed.
well, I'll tell you what. I hate to tell you, but you're not getting this one.
So I don't know what they're sending, but they're sending me some stuff like it. I know there's a T-shirt, there's a hat, there's a hard hat, and some
Yeah.
other stuff in the box.
Yeah, that's my prized possession right there. One of my prized possessions right there is that hat.
I'll show off a hard hat when I get it, Jeff.
Awesome. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Oh man. So yeah. Okay, we're not gonna Vanessa is fantastic. She really is. And
She's a sweetheart.
she is. She's been a friend of the show, and a friend of our group, and she'll be coming on. We are having her on. She is going to be coming on the show with us, and but again, as I mentioned before, it's going to be later on in this, a little bit later in the season because it just doesn't make sense to have them on too soon because they can't talk about anything. So, except for what has already aired, and as we know, it's been not a great find season as far as lots of different interesting finds. So, why have them on too soon? It just doesn't make good sense. But we do have some interesting people coming on that you may not have seen on any other show at any other time. I'll leave that hanging out there. We're going to have some interesting guests coming up over the course of the next, it'd be late April, going into early May. I know it seems like a long way away, but we don't want the season to be over too quickly anyway. So anyway, as I wrap up, I wanted to say that don't forget that tomorrow night, Tom Burns and I will be here with several guests that have been on the Beyond Oak Island show that was on last night. Pancho Villa's Plunder, and Tom and I will have Cindy Medina will be on, and I got to get back with her because we're going to test her connection tonight. Cindy Medina, and then also Gypsy Jules is going to be with us, and then also John, and I just forgot how to pronounce his name again. But anyway, John will be here. Yes, I haven't forgot. I got to meet with Cindy. I'm getting a reminder already. We're going to test her connection. So don't forget to watch out. It's tomorrow night, 7:30, right here on this YouTube channel. And also we'll be in our Curse of Oak Island and Beyond Facebook page. I'll live stream it on or simulcast it on both shows or both channels at the same time. So you can watch it in either place. But that's going to be fun. And Tom's already written up a bunch of notes and stuff for us for that show. So it's going to be a lot of fun, but hopefully they're going to carry it for us. We're just going to kind of get the ball rolling. We just want to find out more about what they did out there in, that was in, I've forgotten the name of the town already. Right there in Texas, right there on the border of Texas and Mexico. Shoot, I'm at a complete loss.
A senior moment.
I'm having a senior moment. I know. Anyway, so that's going to be fun. We're going to have a lot of fun. So make sure you're here with us tomorrow night at 7:30. El Paso. Thank you. El Paso. I've been there before. I should remember that. So anyway, thank you, John Edwards. Thank you, Dale Carney. Thank you, Colin. We'll have, we're going to mix it up a little bit and kind of who's coming on. Jack's going to be coming back on. Linda's going to be coming back on as guest co-host with us as we go forward over the next, we got about, what'd you say, about 9 more episodes, something like that. So I have about 9 more shows. Then they got some drilling downs coming up and all that. So anyway, thank you guys. Thanks folks for watching. We'll see you here tomorrow night. Same channel at 7:30 for Beyond. Bye-bye now.